Nityananda. Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. So we're continuing our readings from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita text, Madhya Lila, chapter 18, entitled The Lord's Visit to Srivindavan, text 128. Want that closer? Text 128 through 134. We can read together 128 through 133. Text 128. E mata katadina akrure rahila Krishna nama prema dila lokanishtarila. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu remained for some days in Akura Tirtha. He delivered everyone there simply by distributing the holy name of Krishna and ecstatic love for the Lord. 129. Madhava Purira Shishya Saita Brahmana Mathura Gare Gare Karana Nimantrana. The Brahmin disciple of Madhavendra Puri went from house to house in Mathura and inspired other Brahmins to invite Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to their homes. Text 130. Mathurara Jataloka Brahmana Sajan Patacharya Stani Asi Karini Mantran. Thus all the respectable people of Mathura, headed by the Brahmanas, came to Balabhadra Bhattacharya and extended invitations to the Lord. Text 1131. Ekadina Dasha Bisha Aisini Mantrana Bhattacharya Ekera Matra Karina Grahan. In one day, 10 to 20 invitations were received, but Balabhadra Bhattacharya would accept only one of them. 132. Avasara Napaya Loka Nimantrana Dite Se Bipre Sade Loka Nimantrana Nite. Since everyone did not get an opportunity to offer invitations to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu personally, they requested the Sanodia Brahmana to ask the Lord to accept their invitations. Text 133. Kanya Kubja Dakshinatyara Vaidika Brahmana Dainya Kari Kare Mahaprabhu Nimantran. The Brahmanas from different places, such as Kanyakubja and South India, who were all strict followers of the Vedic religion, offered invitations to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu with great humility. Text 134, responsively please. Pratakale akrure asi randana kariya. Pratakale akrure asi randana kariya. Prabhure bhikshadena shalagrame samarpiya. Prabhure bhikshadena shalagrame samarpiya. Pratakale akrure asi randana kariya. Prabhure bhikshadena shalagrame samarpiya. Okay. Pratakale akrure asi randana kariya. Prabhure bhikshadena shalagrame samarpiya. Pratakale akrure asi randana kariya. Prabhure bhikshadena Ladies. Pratakale Akuriyasi Randana Kariha Prabhure Diksha Dena Shalakani Samatya Pratakale Akuriyasi Randana Kariha Prabhure Diksha Dena Shalakani Samatya Prataka. Somebody else? Pratakale. In the morning. Akure. To Akura Tirtha. Asi. Coming. Randana Kariya. Cooking. Prabhure. Antu Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Vikhyadena. Offer lunch. Shalagame Samarpya. After offering to the Shalagram Shila. Translation per purpose, Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Translation: in the morning they would come to Akura Tirtha and cook food. After offering it to the Shalagram Shila, they offered it to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Purport: there are Brahmanas known as Panchagoda Brahmanas who come from 5 places in northern India, and there are Brahmanas known as Pancha Dakshinatya Brahmanas who come from 5 places in southern India. In northern India, the places are Kanyakubja, Saraswat, Gauda, Maithila, and Utkal. In southern India, the places are Andhra, Karnataka, Gurjara, Dravida, and Maharashtra. The Brahmanas from these places are considered to be very strict followers of the Vedic principles, and they are accepted as pure Brahmanas. They strictly observe Vedic principles and are not polluted by tantric misdeeds. All of these Brahmanas respectfully invited Chaitanya Mahaprabhu for lunch. Mama Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshurunalitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Mano Vishtam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Daksharamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharne Nirvasesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Dishitarne Vanchakalpatrubhascha Kripa Sindhubhyavacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu used to stay at Akura Tirtha, Akura Ghat they sometimes call. Last time we went, we had opportunity to visit that place. Dinabandhu took us there. There's nice. We've been before once, not too many times. It's kind of not a very, well, by Dinabandhu's mercy it become famous. But it's in between Mathura and Vrindavan, quite secluded place. This is, of course, the place where Akura brought Krishna and Balarama on their way to Mathura, and they stopped and they took bath in the Jamuna River there. And when Akura was taking his bath in the river, he saw Krishna and Balaram in the waters there, but he had just left them on the bank, so he went back to see them, to see if they were still on the bank, and he saw that they were there, and he went back in the water, and he saw that Krishna and Balaram were there, but they turned into was Mahavishnu and Anantashesh. So Akura was not very merciful. He took Krishna and Balaram out of Vrindavan. The gopis were not very happy. But this place, there's temple there. Akura, Krishna and Balaram are situated in that temple there. And we also went to some nice Goshala there. You guys remember? We went to the Goshala in Akuragat, and one sadhu was there. He had a Goshala, and they gave us some milk. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he stayed there at Akuragat. That's also mentioned earlier in this chapter how he would go every morning to Vrindavan, take his bath at Chirgat, and then he would sit and chant at Emlital. There it is here. It's described in the same chapter, text 74, that Erange Sedina Tata Ganaela Sanjakale Akureyasi Bhiksha Nirvahila. Being thus transcendently amused, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu passed that day at Keshi Tirtha. In the evening, he returned to Akur Tirtha, where he took his meal.
Actually, we just had somebody, we just had an announcement from the gentleman wearing orange, which said, we're having the doors open until we finish chanting, and then when class begins, we will close.
Okay, can we...
There's no reason to be inside a temple when it's 31 degrees outside, or
Okay.
when it's 40 degrees outside,
Okay.
when we can have the...
He said after the class they were going to close it.
Okay.
If they want to have the temple open, they let them have the temple open.
Why
Why?
Why are we having the temple open all the doors and standing in a room wearing all of our clothing
That's the regulations that they have.
So you're choosing what regulations?
That they've made. The temple president wants the temple open for the health of the devotees. So don't argue, please.
But there's no...
I'm trying to give class.
Being cold actually decreases the immune system, so there's no
Yes.
logic there.
That's not...
Okay, I'm not going to suffer. If you want to suffer and make up...
Okay, please, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. So, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu stayed at Akurgat, and he would come there every day. He would visit the different places, Vrindavan. He would sit there. He came to, particularly for some time, he was coming to Amlital and sitting there. One morning, it's described that Rajput Krishnadas came there, and he met Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he told Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that he had a dream that he should serve a Vaishnava. And he asked Chaitanya Mahaprabhu if he could serve him. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu became very pleased that he had this desire to serve Vaishnava, and he therefore embraced this Rajput Krishnadas. So this is the benediction one can have by having that desire to serve Vaishnava. Vaishnava, Chadiya Vaishnava Seva Nishtara Parichakeva. That there's no one who can get any kind of deliverance without serving the Vaishnava. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the greatest Vaishnava, he was taking that role of a Vaishnava sannyasi, and people, they were coming, particularly the Brahmanas, they had cultures there. Krishna consciousness is a Vedic culture, trying to reestablish Vedic culture. And still, it's mentioned here that the Brahmins coming from different places in India, still there's culture is there, some kind of culture, although generally in Kali Yuga, as described in the 12th canto, it's described Viprate Sutramevahi, that simply by having a Brahmin thread, one claims to be a Brahmin. But there is still some Brahminical culture left, at least in India. Brahman means intelligent class of men. Krishna explains in the Bhagavad Gita, Chaturvarnyam Maya Shrishtam Guna Karma Vibhagasa. Krishna has divided human society into Chatur, 4 classes, Chaturvarnam. Maya Shrishtam, that he has created these 4 systems. So it's not possible to deny something that God has created. Something God has created is a fact. It can't be, it's not subject for debate or anything. But you can see in human society there is always class of men. Intellectual, there is administrators, those who want to administrate and make rules and regulations. There is business class, and there is laborer class. These 4 divisions are there in human society, although there is a great dearth, there's a great shortage of Brahmins, particularly in the Western world. Srila Prabhupada came, he wanted to establish Brahminical culture. We offer prayers to Krishna, Namo Brahmanya Devaya, Go Brahmana Hitaya Cha. That Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he's the Lord of the Brahmanas, Brahmanya Deva. And Go Brahmana Hitaya Cha. That his business is to cultivate this Brahminical culture and cow protection. These 2 items are so much important. Our Krishna consciousness movement is practically based on these 2 principles, Brahminical culture and cow protection. So this is part of Brahminical culture. Brahmins there described Duja Shrestha, that they're the greatest of the twice-born persons. They have they have the sannyasis that they take, they respect. The sannyasi is they have, of course, you know, the Varnashram system is the system of Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra, and the ashram, Brahmachari, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, and Sannyas. So the Sannyas Brahmins, they're at the top level of society. So the Brahmins here mentioned here, they're understood to be Grihastha Brahmanas. They give respect to the Sannyasi Brahmins. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is coming in that classification. Now it mentions that there's different places, Kanyakubja, Sarasvat, Gauda, Maitila, and Utkal. Utkal is the Orissa, Maitila, Utkal is part of Bengal and Orissa. Maitila is Bihar and part of Bengal. And we have our, what is it? I forgot. Saraswat? Huh? And Kanyakubja. One is the area of Punjab and Kashmir, where our dear godbrother and friend Navyogendra Swami is from. He's from this Brahman Raja Purohit coming. There's a nice, of course, we have a very nice opportunity. We had to make one book, Brahman Vaishnav. This gave very nice analysis of the position of Brahmins and Vaishnavas by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Because around the turn of the century, 1900s, 1911, I think it took place actually. This one meeting took place. There was a great challenge by the caste Brahmanas that one cannot become qualified to worship the deity, the Shalagram Shila, or he cannot give initiation or take initiation unless one is born in a Brahmin family. This misconception is refuted by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Regarding the Brahmanas, he starts off very nicely. Actually, I'd like to read something because it's very poetic how he's written this. He begins his book, there's actually 3 different days lecture that he gave. The first day is he gives the description of the Brahmanas. And actually he called, in this book it's called Prakriti Jan Kant, or the material, worldly people, you could say. So anyway, he starts off, he says, the pure tracts of land known as Aryabharta and Dakshinatya, which have existed since time immemorial, and which stretch from the eastern ocean to the western ocean, and from the Himalaya mountains in the north down to the abode of demons in the south, are presently known as Bharat Varsha or India. Being known since time immemorial as Karmakshetra, the field of fruitive activities, this Bharat Varsha is the land of various activities of innumerable expert fruitive workers. Sometimes the skies of Bharat Varsha are saturated with the sound of rishis chanting Vedic hymns and the smoke emanating from sacrificial fires. Sometimes the land of Bharat Varsha is soaked with blood from battles between the demigods and demons. Sometimes demons are destroyed by the wonderful prowess of incarnations of the Supreme Lord. Sometimes philosophers debate, poets compose sweet verses, scientists display extraordinary expertise, and foreigners are astonished on seeing these social and cultural arrangements. And in this way, various scenes appear in one's heart while reflecting on the land of Bharat. In all these scenes, we see one community as the principal hero. Who is that? The community of Brahmanas. The creator of this universe is Lord Brahma, so those born into the field of fruit activities from his head, his principal limb, those foremost sons and their descendants accepted the designation of Brahmana and thus spread his glories. Even today in India, the glories of the Brahmanas are accepted as fact by men and women from childhood to old age. And then he goes on, from time immemorial, the prestige of the Brahmanas has surpassed all opposition and remained intact. He goes on and on. The whole book is giving very nice description about the glories of the Brahmanas, and then he starts off by giving nice description of the glories of the Brahmanas, but then he explains what is the qualification of a Brahmana. So the whole point is that the Brahmin culture is not based on birth, but on qualifications. It's particularly described by Srila Narad Muni in the 7th canto, Yasya yal lakshanam proktam pumso varnabi vyanjakam yadanya trapi drisheta tateneva vinirdushet. It is described very clearly that whatever qualification was as, this scientific classification of society is not by some kind of sentiment or whimsy or simply by birth, but by lakshanam means the qualification, the qualities. Yasya yal lakshanam proktam pumso varnabi vyanjakam. By that qualification, one is established in a particular class. Yadanya trapi drisheta. If one sees some other qualification in a person who is born in a particular family, that tena eva vinirdushet, he should be understood to be classified in that category. So, Krishna explains in the Bhagavad Gita, of course we should be knowing, qualifications of a Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra are mentioned in the 18th chapter. Brahmins are described samodhamas tapasocham kshantir arjavam evacha jnanam vijnanam astikyam brahma karma svabhavajam. First thing is mentioned is peacefulness. Peacefulness, self-control, austerity, purity, tolerance, honesty, knowledge, wisdom, and religiousness. These are the natural qualities by which the Brahmanas work. So, Brahman qualification is never meant to be by birth, one's born in a Brahmin family. It's also mentioned here. It's one of the subtle pointed out here subtly that it's described that from the Mahabharata, there's one verse that mentions that Bhrigu replied, there are no real differences among Varnas. When Brahma first created the universe, it was inhabited only by Brahmanas. Because everyone, the argument may be there that one is born in a Brahmin family, he's qualified as a Brahmin, but everyone was born from Lord Brahma. Everyone is coming from Lord Brahma, who is the first Brahmana. So anyway, later on, as a result of their activities, people attain the designations of different Varnas. So how to see one as a Varna, what Varna one is, there's one very interesting example Srila Prabhupada sometimes quotes from about the story of Gautam Rishi and one Satyakama. Satyakama, he wanted to be trained as a brahmachari under the guidance of Gautam Rishi, and he went to Gautam Rishi and requested him, please instruct me how to take this culture, Brahminical culture. Gautam Rishi asked him, he said, what is your Varna? What is your birth? What kind of birth have you taken? And this Satyakama, he went to his mother, Jabala, and he asked her, said, what is my Varna? What kind of family have I been born in? And this Jabala, she said that, in my younger days I was a maidservant, and I used to travel here and there, and I don't know I don't know which dynasty I belong to. It says, I begot you as my son when I was wandering in my youth as a maidservant. Therefore, I do not know which dynasty you belong to. My name is Jabala, and your name is Satyakama. So I am Satyakama Jabala. Gautam, when he heard this reply from the Satyakama, he said that, my dear son, no one other than a Brahmana can speak such truth that you have spoken. Therefore, you are a Brahmana, and I accept you as my student. So, one of the foremost qualities of a Brahmana is truthfulness. Without truthfulness, there's no question of being a Brahmana. Other qualifications are also, of course, mentioned by Krishna. We mentioned that. And just before this, in this verse, this is from the Chandogya Upanishad. And other Upanishads, so many Upanishads are there, 108 Upanishads. One other nice story is there, from the Braja Shuchika Upanishad. It gives a very nice description. It says, anyway, the Sanskrit, it starts off very, very nice. Brahma, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, iti chatvara varnas tesham varnanam brahmana eva pradana. That says that of the four different Varnas, Brahma, the Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, and Brahman. The Brahmanas eva pradana iti. Veda vachana rupa smriti bhirapi uttam. This is the verdict of all the shastras. And then it says, ko Brahmana nama. Kim jiva, kim deha, kim jati, kim jnanam, kim karma, kim dharmika iti. It says that, first of all, we should understand who is a Brahmana. The question comes, the living entity is the Brahmana, the body is the Brahmana, the caste is the Brahmana, the knowledge, the activities, or the religionist. And so each one of these is refuted very scientifically. If it is proposed that the living entity is Brahman, that is not correct. The living entity remains the same in the past, present, or future. Although he receives various types of bodies according to his karma, he remains unchanged. Therefore, the living entity is not the Brahmana. So, each one is described. It goes on for a couple pages, so we won't go on to that but Srila Prabhupada quotes many times, Brahma janati iti Brahmana. So it's very simply, very succinct, that actually this is just one line of a verse that says that Janmana Jayate Shudra, that everyone is born Shudra, especially in Kali Yuga, but that is the actually basis of sanskara dvija bhaved dvija, that only by engaging in purificatory processes does one become twice born. Then it goes on, Veda pated bhaved vipra, that different classifications. Sometimes these terms, Dvija, Vipra, and Brahman, are considered synonymous, but here in this verse it just gives different gradations that Veda Patad Bhavid Vipra, that one becomes a Vipra by studying the Vedas. And then the last line is there, Brahma Janati iti Brahmana, that one who understands Brahman, he's a Brahman. So these are some qualifications that one has to have. The also very important mentions that sometimes the Brahmanas are given the understanding what is their activities of a Brahmana, what's the occupation of a Brahmana. It's described that Srila Prabhupada describes that the occupation has sixfold. What is that? Yajana yajana, patana patana, dana pratigraha. Very scientific. What is the qualification? What is the activities? Yajana yajana, the Brahmanas are engaged in worshipping the deity, and sometimes they worship on behalf of the other classes, or they may be teaching also. And patana patana, they're studying, they're engaged in study. If someone, a Brahmana, another name for Brahman is Pandit. And Brahman should be a learned scholar in the Vedic scriptures. He should understand what is the... Srila Prabhupada, we were listening to some morning walks. Srila Prabhupada mentioned that one time that it said that this first initiation, this can be given freely, but for second initiation, at one point he was saying that one has to gain this qualification of Bhakti Shastri. Then he can become second initiated. Brahman should be understood, he should understand what is the scriptures. And that's patana patana. Then he should teach others. He should be a teacher. Even Dronacharya, he was Brahman, he was teaching military art to the Pandavas and the Kauravas. So Brahman means teacher, patana patana. And dan pratigraha, dan means he should give some charity, and pratigraha, he accepts some charity, like that. It's mentioned, Srila Prabhupada mentions sometimes that a Brahman, if he gets a large amount of money, $100,000 in one day, in the evening it's all gone. He simply depends on Krishna for his maintenance. Whatever comes, he distributes whatever extra he gets, he distributes. So these activities are there. These are called sat karma. So it's also mentioned that sat karma nipuno vipra mantra tantra visharada avaishnava guru nasyat vaishnava swapacho guru. That these sat karma, nipuna means very expert. One can be very expert. Sat karma at these activities, sat karma nipuno vipra mantra tantra visharada. These mentioned here in the verse of the tantras. Tantras are some kind of class of the Vedic literatures. The tantras are there. And one may be very expert. Sat karma nipuno vipra mantra tantra visharada. A Vaishnava guru nasyat. Says a Vaishnava, and if he's not a devotee, guru nasyat, he's not qualified to become a guru. But on the other hand, what is that? Vaishnava swapacho guru. Swapacha, the chandala, the lowest class of men, if he's Vaishnava, then he's a guru. And so, main principle, Srila Prabhupada, he had some talks on this varnashram system. He wanted this varnashram system established in ISKCON and Krishna consciousness movement to instruct the general mass of people. But he always pointed out that the devotees, they're not, what is this, Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. They're beyond this. The Vaishnava is beyond. That is why this first chapter in this book, Prakriti Jan Kand, this describes the Brahmanas. And the next chapter, next section is called Harijan Kand, the devotees, the followers of Lord Hari. And then the next one is called Vyavahar Kand, the behavior of the two. So the devotees, they're not situated. The Brahmanas are situated in the mode of goodness, generally understood to be on the mode of goodness. But the devotees, they're Mamcha Yao Vyabhicharena Bhakti Yogina Sevate Sagunan Samadhi Chaitan. The devotee, he's meant to be beyond this material modes of nature. And as a result, this Brahmana becomes qualified. This Vaishnava is even the instructor of the Brahmanas. The Brahmanas are meant to be the not the leaders, but they are supposed to give guidance to the leaders. It's mentioned that Maharaj Parikshit, when he became ruler of the entire world. It says, it's mentioned there, what is that? Tata Parikshit Vijavarya Shikshaya Mahim Maha Bhagavata Shashashaha. That Tata Parikshit Dvijavarya Shikshaya. That he took the instructions, Dvijavarya Shikshaya. The best of the Brahmanas were guiding him. Although he was Mahabhagavata, Shashashaha, he was a Mahabhagavata himself, but still he took the guidance from the Brahmanas And Mahim Mahabhagavata Shashasaha, he ruled Shashasa. This root is there. So the Brahmanas are not interested in the power of ruling power of society. That is meant for the Kshatriyas. But the Kshatriyas, their qualification is that they take guidance from the Brahmanas. That is their qualification. A Brahmana, the Kshatriya means that they have this tendency, they want to rule, but without proper guidance, they're not, they can become easily corrupted. In our society today, of course, we can see that there, as a result of our lack of guidance, we have third class, fourth class men in the ruling position all over the world, not simply in America we're talking about. We had an election recently, but that's not the point. We're not talking about specific instances, but the principle is there that without proper guidance, without instruction, without the class of Brahmanas, Brahmanas are just considered the head of society. Kshatriyas are the arms, they're described as the arms of the Supreme Lord. They can do nice protection, but without the guidance of the head, the whole society, we can see, is practically in a crazy situation. So it's not something in modern times, that's the problem only in modern times. But Prahlad Maharaj, he also mentioned that Nate vidu swartagatimi Vishnu. Prahlad Maharaj, how many millions of years ago that was, we don't know, and that was written in Srimad Bhagavatam, and we know 5,000 years ago. But the point is that he says that the people don't understand what is the aim of life. We don't, the modern society has no clue what their whole aim of society, what the aim of their life or the society's aim should be. So that is only understood by the proper guidance of persons who are acting in the capacity as Brahmanas, Brahman Vaishnavas, like that. They have to give this guidance that the material life, this life, Prahlad Maharaj also says that, what is that, arthadam. It's very valuable, this human life, that one can give the greatest gain through this human form of life. But this can only be done by the proper guidance of the spiritual master or those who are representing the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So Srila Prabhupada wanted this Krishna consciousness movement to train up qualified Brahmanas, Vaishnavas. Any comments or questions? We can. What happened? I have to go. So it's getting late. I saw the time. Huh? Anyone? Comment? Huh? What?
I have a question that is Brahmana the quality or the behavior? You have to explain that Brahmana is not by birth. I agree. I have no problem. But when we talk about the Brahmana, is it by the quality or the behavior?
Quality of the personality, yes. Chaturvarnyam maya shrishtam guna karma vibhagasa. Guna means quality, yes. And one should also work in that capacity. If one, Srila Prabhupada mentions that if one gets his degree in medical practice when he works as laborer, he can't be really called a doctor. So one should act in that capacity. Have that quality or qualification, and he should act in that capacity. Guna karma vibhagasha. That's the statement of Krishna.
How do you relate to our modern ISKCON society where someone is given Brahman initiation to do some service as a Brahman?
Yes.
But his behavior may not appealing to Brahmanical culture. But at the same time, he has to carry on his commitment. He has a commitment. When someone comes from without training, just got initiated and he has to serve. Now,
someone who's taken to Krishna consciousness, he's rightly situated. He may have some bad habits from past life, but Krishna says, Kshipram Bhavati Dharmatma, that he becomes quickly righteous. He's properly situated. And devotees, Srila Prabhupada stressed many times when he was talking to the devotees about establishing Varnashram college, he stressed many times that the devotee, he's not Brahman, he's not Kshatriya, he's not Shudra, he's not Vaishya, but he's a devotee. At least this is the desired position of the members of Krishna consciousness movement, that they should be devotees first of all, and then they can teach. If someone is teaching how to cook or how to even clean the floor, he's not a Shudra by cleaning the floor. If he's teaching someone how to do for Krishna, he's transcendentally situated. He's devotee. That is the sometimes misconception we have, that all the members of the Krishna consciousness movement, they are meant to come to the stage of Vaishnava, and therefore they're better than the Brahmanas.
So is that the quality, the samadhama, tapasocham, is not to be found in the Vaishnava?
No, it is meant to be found.
Just because he took initiation, now he's above Brahmana qualification, it should not be checked?
No, that's not. Taking a Brahman initiation, Srila Prabhupada said that he also quoted that Viprate Sutramevahi, that simply by becoming initiation, that doesn't finish the process. Process is that one has to follow the principles of Krishna consciousness movement and attain the qualifications. But it's mentioned, Yasyasti Bhaktir Bhagavatya Kinchana Sarvair Gunas Tatra Samasati Sura, that devotee, he has all the good qualities of the demigods. He's more than a Brahmana, if one is a devotee. Of course, to claim that one is a devotee is not, that is not the business of a devotee. Devotee should always feel himself humble and meek and think that he has no good qualification. But if someone is actually following the principles of the Krishna consciousness movement, we should understand that he's rightly situated and he's on the path, and he's therefore better than even the Brahman.
Okay, so let's have a next question. So, is this the devotional service of somebody who just got initiated in Brahmana that will purify him automatically, or actually he has to endeavor also?
Yes, of course he has to endeavor. But that is mentioned by Krishna. I would mention that verse, Mamchaya Vibhicharina, one who engages in devotional service and does not fall down. Of course, if he falls down, then again, that's a different situation. But if one engages in devotional service without fall down, Sagunan samatichaitan. He transcends the modes of material nature. Brahman is the emblem of the mode of goodness, but the devotee is meant to be on the Shuddha-sattva platform. I have to go.
No, wait. You are on the...
No, I don't have time for...
We just started.
Yeah, no, This started, I know.
Okay, last question.
Okay, one more quick.
So, if somebody is diligently doing, I don't have any problem. Okay. So, if somebody is not diligently doing, just for the sake of it, motivation that he got initiated and then he slips out or whatever. Now he's trying to keep it up. Is it like the result of his progression will be automatically or is it intentional? Which one? The progression.
The progression is by the mercy of Krishna. Krishna...
that's
what
like
is
in
the
the sky,
Krishna in
practical reality.
Oops, sorry.
Is it intentional or automatic?
Shrinvatam, what is that? Shrinvatam Swakata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Ridyantasto Hibadrani Vidunoti Suritsatam.
Yeah. What is that telling?
Yes, Krishna is in the heart of the devotee who is listening to his katha, and he cleanses the heart of the devotee. So he becomes...
So is it intentional or it's automatic?
Krishna takes care of everything. Intentional, intentional. One has to intentionally surrender to Krishna.
So you come
Yes.
to that.
That's okay. That's the answer. You're good enough. Okay.
I wanted to hear.
Yes.
Intentional. It's not just automatic.
Yeah, one has to intentionally surrender to Krishna.
Yes.
And if someone is surrendered to Krishna, then Krishna cleanses the heart.
That I agree.
Okay. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.